Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Hey, thank you so much for being Up+Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. Apologize for yesterday. We had a live stream that we had to prepare for the Danube 2027 cruise. It's on YouTube. We talk about the whole cruise we're doing. We had Epic. We had Nita from India chiming in. So there was a lot of behind the scenes, and it just made it impossible to do a show yesterday preparing for that live stream. But it's always fun to do stuff live. We'll do it live. All right, we'll do it live. All right, today on the show, I'm excited for this because how often do you get to look back at how a television show became more than a television show? And this show is one that I only got into later on, didn't watch it when it came out. But even with this interview, even with today's conversation, found myself more and more fascinated about this show. So even if you're not into the show I'm about to tell you, you're going to find an interesting conversation in here. I promise that. New Girl. It arrived as a network sitcom about a woman moving into a loft with three men, but it grew into something much stranger, smarter, and more lasting. It really bent the rules of the hangout comedy, invited the actors to help shape their own characters, packed scripts with an almost absurd number of alternate jokes, eventually found a second life as one of the defining comfort rewatches of the streaming era. So here's a show that came out at this unique time. It was certainly still network TV time, but then actually grew this other life when the streaming era really went into overdrive. So whether you loved the show New Girl, whether you missed it, or only know it through memes, clips, references, pictures of Zooey Deschanel, this is a story about friendship, creative risk, television history, and why some shows become part of the cultural language, and this one certainly did. Entertainment journalist Thea Glassman is going to join us to take us inside the story with Who's That Girl? The Untold Definitive History of New Girl. She wrote a book. Thea's writing has appeared in the New York Times, Vanity Fair, Architectural Digest, Rolling Stone magazine, and her first book, Freaks, Geeks, and Dawson's Creek, went behind the scenes of 7 groundbreaking teen shows. For this one, she spoke with creator Liz Meriwether. She spoke with Zooey Deschanel, Jake Johnson, Max Greenfield, Lamorne Morris, Hannah Simone, and the writers, directors, designers, and the crew who built Apartment 4D from the ground up. So this is going to be a fun chat. Again, whether you're into the show or not, we'll talk about the auditions that changed the show, the first kiss that almost came too soon. Prince did a cameo on the show that was unforgettable, and how a series that once fought to stay on the air became the kind of show people now turn on when they need to feel at home. And yeah, by the end of this, you may be ready to start your first binge or your fifth, who knows? Thea Glassman is Up+Adam today in just a few minutes. Looking forward to it. Before that, got a couple little headlines, also a couple pieces of audio that have gone viral. Apparently 2026 is the summer men finally stop pretending they don't need a purse. The Washington Post has an article says handbags are having a full-on menswear moment with guys like Harry Styles, Bad Bunny. Yeah, but they've always been a little sus. Kylian Mbappe, can't say that person's last name, Erling Haaland, even NBA stars showing up with everything from like tiny little Gucci crossbodies to massive bags, right? I mean, we used to say like the merce, right? Man purse. Honestly, we've come a long way. 25 years ago, Jerry Seinfeld's European carry-all got him called a fancy boy. Now a purse, it's in some circles, it says you're fashionable, you're unbothered, and quite possibly carrying probably gum, chapstick, or a phone charger. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean that gender norms have completely disappeared. Sometimes a $20,000 handbag just means a rich dude would like you to know that he's a rich dude. But look, dudes, we have stuff. Pockets suck. Bags are useful. And I don't know, in some circles, the purse for men is, you got to hold it the right way too. I don't know, like some of these ways, it's pretty funny looking at some of these pictures. But I did get that crossbody. Those have been popular for about 5-6 years now. And I got one from that one company called, I think it's Ori, O-R-I. They make these oversized bags, big zippers. They sell them at the general store in Paso. And there's a little crossbody one I got, and it's rad. It holds the iPad. If you're traveling, it's great. You can have it right next to your arm, and who knows? So that's becoming a thing. I don't know if I'm ready for a purse, but that little crossbody thing when you're traveling, yeah, it's helpful. All right, here's another story out of Orange County. And the reason I bring it up is because I wonder how soon before this comes here, because Orange County has declared a war on e-bikes, or at least the ones that aren't really, I mean, can we call them e-bikes anymore? The county's district attorney in Orange County says deaths and injuries involving e-bikes and electric motorcycles have reached epidemic levels. Injuries are up 430%. Wow. With many crashes involving riders between 11 and 14 years old. I saw this one kid yesterday. He was trailing a bunch of his friends. He was trying to catch up. And dude must have been at like 40 on this e-bike. Just like rape. And just like, dude's got no helmet on. And you're just like, man, I'm going to read about that kid. Like it's crazy because a kid doesn't know all the wherewithal. Their brains aren't fully developed to understand traffic and the whole idea of driving defensively, no matter what kind of vehicle you're on. So it just makes me a nervous wreck. And because SLO has all these ridiculously lame road diets where they put the green and then they put a freaking curb like 10 feet away from the curb. So it's another thing a car can hit, and you walk out, you step over that, and then all of a sudden you're about to get like run over before you walk in to your haircut because someone is driving by on a bike going 35 miles an hour that you can't even hear, you know? So at least motors, you could hear them. But prosecutors now, at least in Orange County, they're not just looking at the kids, they're looking at the parents because injuries have gone up so much. One father is facing felony child endangerment charges after his 12-year-old crashed an electric motorcycle modified to reach 60 miles an hour. Prosecutors currently have more than 24 other parent-related cases under investigation, but bike advocates say there's an important distinction here. Most of the worst crashes involve high-powered e-motorcycles, not street-legal e-bikes. And families may not understand what they're actually buying online. So yeah, kids need rules. Parents need accountability. Sellers need clear labels, no doubt. But if your child's bicycle can do 60, bitch, you bought them a motorcycle. That is not an e-bike. I mean, can we be real? Going 50, 60, that's a motorcycle. So we'll see what happens. Okay, a couple pieces of audio that have gone viral. These are pretty funny. There's this guy named Husk. He does these videos where he talks to AI. So we always talk about AI here. Listen to him talk to 3 different AIs. All right. So he's holding 3 phones on his chest and they're all open to Chat GPT. So listen to this conversation go. It's pretty funny.
Guys.
Hey, not much. Just here and ready to help.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, not much. Just here and ready to help. What's going on with you today?
I got 3 of you here now. The more, the merrier.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking with your collective intelligence, we could now count to 100 no problem.
Oh, nice. Yeah, totally. We can do that. So just let me know how you want to break it up.
Yeah, just count from 1 to 100 and don't stop.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start us off.
I'll say 1, and then the next day I can say 2, and we'll just go until we hit 100. Ready? I'll start. 1.
Yep, I'm ready. So I'll go after you. Let's keep it smooth, and we'll just count straight through. Go for it.
Oh, my God.
Awesome. Perfect. So I'll say 1, you say 2, and we'll just keep that rhythm going. Ready? Here we go. 1.
Exactly.
Perfect. I'm ready.
All right, so
go ahead and say 1, and I'll jump in with 2 right after you.
It's interesting that there's like one that's assertive and one that's really passive. And
Go ahead with 2, and we'll keep the pace all the way up to 100.
All right,
Exactly.
perfect. So I'll say 2, and then you'll say
oh my
3, and
God,
keep
it's a
going
giant
to the
circle.
You guys don't have to explain to each other how to count. I think you guys know how to count, so just keep going.
You're totally right.
We'll just
Okay.
jump right in and keep a steady flow. I'll continue now. 3, and you'll say 4, and we'll just go straight through. Let's do it.
Yep, that's the plan.
Exactly.
We'll just keep it going.
So
Each
I'll
of
go
us
ahead and
take-
say 4, and we'll just keep the rhythm going. Let's do this.
Perfect. I'll say 5 right after, and we'll just keep it rolling until we get all the way there.
Yep, exactly. So I'll say 5,
Awesome.
No,
and we'll
yeah.
just keep that pattern going one after another until
Oh
we
my
reach 100.
gosh.
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right.
I'm on it. So
Yep.
I said 5, and you'll say 6, and we'll just keep this rhythm going all the way until we hit 100.
It's maddening.
Exactly. I'll say
Stop
6
saying
now.
exactly.
I want to hear how it ends though.
No. Stop saying exactly.
Got it.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh my gosh. So that's his name is Husk, Husk in real life IRL. He's funny and he just clowns on AI all the time, which obviously is pretty easy now. Now, another viral video about how, man, the times have changed. Man, have the times changed. A cop pulls over a car. It's a Tesla. And dude straight says, "Can't blame me, bro. I wasn't driving."
Yes, sir.
A little fast.
I wasn't driving. That's a self driving autopilot, sir.
You're in charge, though. So I need to see your driver's license.
I'm in charge, but I wasn't driving. So
He's got his hands, he's like his hands are up, with his palms out, like, not me. He's like, I wasn't driving. It was a driver assist kind of thing.
You're in the driver's seat.
I'm in
You can blame the car all you want, but
how can we sort out this problem, sir? I wasn't.
do you have a driver's license?
I do, sir.
The car doesn't have a driver's license. I need to see your driver's license.
I got to give it to this cop. So far, this cop's pretty patient, like almost having a sense of humor with this. Like, car doesn't have a driver's license. You do. I'll see yours.
I can't get anything involved because this wasn't me, sir.
Sir, I need to see your driver's license.
Yes, I can give you driver's license.
Okay.
First of all, I'm just.
No, not first of all. The first thing I need to see is your driver's license. That's the number one thing. All right, sir. I did write you a ticket for speeding, 64 and a 45. Not sure how this whole thing works, but it's not the first person I've stopped that's been an autopilot. I don't know why they decided to speed, but there's no way the speed limit here is 65 or whatever it thought it was. It's only 45.
So, is this happen? You telling me that this is not the first time that you pull over with the Tesla?
Yes.
So how do you figure out in the car?
How I figure out what?
How do you figure out in the car? When you talk to the judge or when I'm talking to the judge, how I'm going to figure out? I wasn't driving.
It doesn't matter. You're completely in charge of the car. You were driving.
No, sir. I was here.
You're missing the point. You are driving.
Wow.
I'm not driving. This is a sus driving, and I was sitting
Sir,
here.
whether you turn it over to the car doesn't matter. You're still driving. You can say the car's driving as all you want. The judge is not going to play that game. You were driving. If you choose to trust the car...
I need to see your supervisor, please.
Sir,
Oh my God. I want to see your supervisor. Dude straight does not get, he's in the driver's seat commanding the car. He put it in autopilot. And he is like, but the thing is, this dude literally believes in his head that he is principally sound. Oh, I didn't do it. The car did it.
Ticket. On the bottom is a complaint number. If you want to talk to my...
I just want to speak with this.
Well, this is your copy. Do you want your driver's license back?
So you can't aggress me like
Sir, do you want your driver's license?
You can't address.
but I need to speak for your supervisor.
You can, like I said, you can give him a call.
No, I can't. I need your supervisor right now.
You want me to call him here?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell him that you want him here. I'll see what he says.
Yeah, he
All
says...
the supervisors are busy. If you want to sit here and wait, you can. There's a court date on the ticket.
You will be here, and then he will be come here because I got every recording right here. This is how you respond to me. This is how you rude to me. This
how
is
am I rude to you?
So listen, sir. With due all respect, I'm a good citizen. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm a zero criminal. You treat me like that. Like this.
I didn't treat you like a
No. I have a witness.
I have a witness?
She got a witness. You tell me like this? You want to see your driver license? That's not acceptable.
Oh my gosh, he's losing his shit.
Okay? You cannot treat me like this, good citizen.
Are you going to sit here and wait for the supervisor?
No, I want your supervisor right now, and then you will be here. Because I went to
I'm leaving.
I'm out. See you, bro. Cop straight walks back to his car and he is done. The gall of that guy. Pretty interesting. Okay, so yeah, that's going viral right now. Tesla's getting tickets in autopilot and drivers like, not me, bro. It's not me. All right, I'm excited to talk to Thea Glassman. She's entertainment journalist. Girl knows her stuff. She's written some pretty cool books that I've been familiar with already, and I'm excited to get into New Girl because it's not a show that I was really all that into, but this conversation's pretty rad. So we'll do it after I talk about my friends at the Mountain Air. Love them. You know, there's places in San Luis Obispo. How many do you find that have been there over 50 years? And there's a reason for that. It's because what they do it right. They see their customers, they treat them well, they're good neighbors, and the Mountain Air is all of those things. Helping locals get outside and do it at all skill levels. Hiking, camping, climbing, headed to the snow when there's some of that out. Started by a great guy named Wayne Patterson. Now it's owned by a lovely couple, Josh and Lindsay Herring, who have been a part of the store long before they took it over. They're raising their family right here. It's awesome. And what they do there, they're really good at social media. So I encourage you to give them a follow. That's free. And just see what kind of stuff they do and then go in there, get something for yourself, a gift, whatever it is, and let them know that you heard them on Up and Adam. Thank them for not just keeping it local with who they serve, but keeping it local with the dollars that they earn. They're supporting local media, new media, and local broadcasting by being Up and Adam. And for that, I am sincerely and gratefully thankful to the Mountain Air. Check them out, themountaineer.com.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, today on Up and Adam, we're opening the door to Apartment 4D and looking how the show New Girl became more than a hit sitcom. It was a show about friendship, heartbreak, creative chaos, and the strange, beautiful years when adulthood still felt like something everyone was making up as they went along, right? Entertainment journalist Thea Glassman has written for the New York Times, Vanity Fair, Architectural Digest, Rolling Stone magazine, and her first book went behind the scenes of some of television's most influential teen shows. Now, the book is called Who's That Girl? The Untold Definitive History of New Girl. She's going to take us inside the writer's room, onto the set, into the stories behind the cast, the auditions, that first kiss, True American, Prince's cameo, and the final season that almost didn't happen. Whether you watched every episode or about to maybe rediscover it, or discover it for the first time yourself. Excited to welcome Thea Glassman. Look, I love a guest who arrives carrying keys to an apartment millions of people still feel emotionally that they lived in.
Yes.
So thank you.
I'm honored to bring those keys.
Right. Thank you very much for being Up and Adam. How do I say your first name correctly?
Thea.
Thea. Great. You know, there are successful shows, Thea. There are beloved shows, and then there are shows whose fictional address begins to feel strangely real, right? And people just didn't just watch Apartment 4D. They developed memories there. And at what point in researching this book did you kind of understand that you're not just documenting the making of a sitcom, you're kind of investigating how an imaginary apartment became an emotional home for millions of people?
Yeah. Well, even from the very beginning, it started with like, how did they build this world? So it was talking to Liz Meriwether, who created the show, about where did this idea come from? How did she develop these characters? It was talking to the production designer who created Apartment 4D and who like wandered around different real life lofts in downtown LA and was like, how can I make this place feel real? Talking to the writers about how did they develop the writer's room, the cast. So it was really talking to every single person on the call sheet and beyond to figure out how did they make this show so special and how did they make this show something we want to keep rewatching, which is like not the most typical thing. There's not a lot of shows you want to keep having on in your house over and over again.
You know, a definitive history. It's an interesting promise because fans already come in believing they know everything. They know the episodes, the jokes, the relationships. But what was the first discovery that made you realize the public story of New Girl and the private story of the making of New Girl, they were vastly different?
I think it was when I started talking to the writers, because I think I did not realize how much time was spent on these jokes, that they sat in the writer's room and there was a joke in the script and then they came up with 100 alternate jokes to that joke. And then they take those 100 jokes, narrow it down, bring a whole bunch more onto set, pitch those, let the actors pitch jokes back to them. I didn't realize sort of what a comedy boot camp it was on set. And that was really fascinating and really unusual, I think, for that time and for any time, how much license the actors were given to pitch ideas. Like Tran, who plays Nick's park friend, Jake Johnson pitched that idea to Liz Meriwether via text. So getting to hear from all of the cast about the ways they pitched ideas and how the famous moments that were born on set that were not scripted was also super fascinating and unusual to hear about.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you interviewed people who experienced these 7 years, and oftentimes you interviewed different people who might have experienced them from different seats. You mentioned the actors, but the writers, the directors, the creator, the designers. So, and memory, obviously, everyone's trying to be honest with you, but memory's not always consistent. So when two people remembered maybe the same moment differently, were you trying to determine, like, wait a minute, what really happened? Or were you kind of like into these contradictions themselves because it was kind of more fun of a revealing way of getting to the truth?
Yeah, well, and I would sort of try to phrase things as so-and-so remembers it, especially because if someone had a totally different memory, and also it was a very interesting, like, psychology lesson in how, you know, this show was filmed years and years ago, and also how our own memories kind of shape our lives. But I think that I tried to sort of couch things as this person remembers it, but some people, like, remember things so vividly and were able to give me, like, the exact dialogue. Like, I feel like I wrote a chapter on Prince, and I feel like those memories that people had were so specific. And like the first assistant director, Michael Rizzoli, who was sort of Prince's right-hand man, remembered like every single back and forth that he had with Prince, because Prince was calling him over and saying, hey man, can I have a bullhorn? I have this pitch. And so it was, and always as a writer, it's always like, I really appreciate when people are able to recreate dialogue, even if it's not 100% what happened on the day. Yeah. I just selfishly love when people can do that.
Was that the moment that was just like the most epic? I mean, I can imagine being on the set for some of these moments, the first kiss, but Prince on this show, was that just like, everyone's just like, well, it was when Prince was here?
Yeah, I think everybody was shocked and they thought it was a prank at first. And they were really working to make sure, like, Zooey was in fittings, like hours and hours and hours, because Prince had a very specific image of what he wanted her to wear. And then finally he called because he didn't like anything that was being picked out. And he said, I want you to look like Stevie Nicks. And he ended up shipping her a dress from his favorite store in Minneapolis. He brought his own clothes to the set so that she could wear them for the show. Someone very, like, beautifully put it, he show ran that his own episode. He, like, flew in artwork for that episode. He was like, he had an idea for bringing a lighter in for a joke. And so I think it was a very surreal experience. And you talk about how everybody has different memories. Every single person did share with me, like, almost as if it was the first time it was being said, they were like, he had a big crush on Hannah Simone. So I know that memory was consistent, because I would say almost every person I spoke to joyfully shared that anecdote.
Talk about where this show, Thea, hits in the timeline of the evolution of TV. I mean, TV was changing at the time. The streamings are coming more. Like, what are we doing with TV? Just like, you know, it was a weird time. And then also, like, the timeline of the generation, and whether it's, you know, Zennials, Millennials, or the generation that really locked in to everything that this show was offering in a lot of the same ways like How I Met did, but in a very different and unique way too.
Right. Well, and it was such an interesting time, as you say, like, the network TV was going through a really interesting, challenging time, because when New Girl premiered, it was huge. It made this huge splash that then, and it continued to great numbers. And then, like, streaming was starting to really take a hold, and people were not, the Nielsen ratings, this is how they, like, measured success in network TV. It was slipping and slipping and slipping. And so New Girl almost, like, came at a weird time where it ended up almost being canceled because people were not really watching network TV the way that they used to be. And so the fact that it found another life on streaming, I think it appealed to us millennials. And also it's like very exciting to see that there's a really younger generation who maybe don't even know any of these references, but are tuning in and falling in love with it because they discovered it on streaming.
Yeah, the earliest description of New Girl, it could have sounded dangerously familiar. Like a quirky woman moves into a loft with 3 men. What did you learn from Liz Meriwether about the courage required to protect a peculiar creative voice before an audience had proven that it wants it? It wants more of it.
Well, I love, she talked about, there's like a quote that really stayed with her where you sort of create this like really shiny, nice package, and then you hide all the weird stuff in there. So it had exactly what you said. It had this really marketable package. This girl moves into a loft with 3 guys. There's maybe a little bit of tension between her and this guy. There's some flirtation. And they had these like butter yellow posters that they had over town. They called her adorkable. But Liz Meriwether sort of shoved all the weird, wonderful, strange stuff underneath it. And it came out, like as a fan, I'm sure you can see, like comes out season by season, episode by episode, where it sort of is no longer this really cute TV show. And it becomes just like really wacky and kind of experimental and almost like from live theater is what I sort of think it became. And that was not how it was pitched.
It's funny because, casting can assemble the talent. Writers can build the relationships, but ensemble chemistry is kind of this mysterious ingredient that nobody can order. And New Girl had it almost immediately. After tracing back the auditions in the early days of production, as you do with this project, what do you believe the team recognized in this particular group before the actors themselves even understood what they could become together?
Well, I think so. For starters, I think even Liz Meriwether knew that Jake Johnson could be a romantic interest before he knew he could be a romantic interest. He hadn't really been cast in those type of roles before, and she plucked him out, and she knew he could play someone that like audiences would fall in love with in a way that was like, you develop a TV crush. And she also, like, Schmidt was not who was originally written on the page, but Max Greenfield brought this like fascinating, needy, emotional energy to him that really like helped shape the character. I thought it was really interesting that when Lamorne was auditioning, Jake had already been cast, and he knew Lamorne would be perfect as Winston. So he didn't know him, but he called him up and he said, "Hey man, come over to my house. Let's run the sides together. I'm going to tell you everything I know about like what they're looking for, and let's figure it out." So there was almost this camaraderie that was built early on when he auditioned with Max. Everyone was laughing in the room, and they kind of walked out, and he said like, "Hey man, I hope we get to do this together." That was really cool. So it was like early on, there were these really easy chemistry moments that like foreshadowed what was to come.
Do you find people going back to this show now and watching it right now? How does it age?
I think for the most part, it ages really well. There's some thorny spots that you're kind of like, ugh. Same as like when you rewatch Friends or The Office, there's moments where you're just like, ugh. But for the most part, I think it's aged pretty well. I sort of have been in an interesting place because when people ask you, like, what do you do over the past year? I said, I'm working on a book about New Girl. And you get to get a snapshot of, like, how does this show live on for people? And I would say 9 times out of 10 people are like, New Girl, like, you get this effusive reaction, which is really thrilling as someone who's writing a book on it. Because you're like, I hope people are really excited about this. And then it's usually followed by, I loved Winston. That's usually the next line that comes out of people's mouths. So it did give me a snapshot of how much this show is living on for people, just based on when I have told people what I had been doing for the past year.
Writing about something that you love, it kind of creates this beautiful complication, right? I mean, the fans, well, rather maybe the fan in you kind of want to protect the feeling. The journalist in you's got to follow the truth, even if it makes it a little less tidy. Where did your responsibility as a journalist ask you to challenge your instinct as a fan?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like you almost have to stop. I stopped, this is probably a little sad. I stopped watching it as a fan. So I used to watch it as a comfort show. It was something I would have on if I was having a bad day, or if I was, just like feeling whatever, I just wanted something happy on, I would put it on, and I couldn't really watch it the same way anymore. I had to kind of take that hat off. And I don't know that New Girl, it's sort of sad, I don't know that New Girl will get to like remain my comfort show, because it kind of became my profession for a while. And you had to almost watch it, and every person I interviewed, I would rewatch all of their episodes. If I interviewed Justin Long, the guest star who played Paul Genslinger, I watched all of his episodes, and I wasn't watching it in a like, let's have fun type of way. I was watching it in a super analytical way and like trying to figure out, what are fans interested in? What do I want to ask him? How does this fit within the narrative of the book? So you sort of start to look at it with like a story arc, as opposed to like, this is my cozy show that I watch when I'm like getting ready to go to bed.
So the first kiss, right, between Nick and Jess, it became one of those TV moments where the air in the room like seemed to change. Yet, according to you in the book, some version of that almost came a lot earlier. What did you discover about the creative restraint required to delay a moment that everyone kind of maybe felt coming or was wondering if it was coming? And why might giving audiences what they want too early kind of rob them of what they need to enjoy this ongoing?
I was so shocked so I actually sort of found out by accident that in the pilot script, they almost kissed, because someone who worked on the show very kindly sent me the first version of the script, and I was reading through and I saw at the end, Nick and Jess almost kissed. I was like, wait, what? And thankfully they took that out, because that would have been way, way too early. But there was a lot of debate in the writer's room about, should we do it now? Is it too soon? Are audiences going to feel like frustrated once they get together because there's not enough like story or narrative push? But they were losing ratings, because as we talked about network TV, it was a real struggle. And Liz Meriwether was given the directive of like, we need something really big to happen. And so Nick and Jess kissing was a pretty big thing to happen. But there was a lot of pressure. All of the Fox network executives piled into Nick's room to watch. They after the kiss happened, they changed the Wi-Fi password to "they kissed," because it was just such a huge moment. But it was a huge struggle once they got together, because it was trying to figure out, how do we keep this comedy engine alive? The writers got a little bit of fatigue writing their characters, because they were sort of tired of just writing them in scenes together and not opening it up to the whole lot. So it was a really interesting challenge to unpack as a writer, to find out like how they navigated it and ultimately decided it's time to break them up for now.
Gosh, it's so good. I got Winston questions. I got more Prince questions. I got True American questions. Let me ask True American, because True American is one of these televisions. It's like one of TV's great acts of confidence, right? A drinking game with the energy of a sacred national tradition and the structural integrity of like a fever dream. What does the creation of True American reveal about the show's relationship with logic? And why was refusing to explain the game part of its genius?
So with refusing to explain the game, what I learned is they genuinely didn't know what the game was, and that's why they couldn't share any rules. They just didn't, and I don't think they expected it to take off the way that it did. And it was one of those things where it was a bit of a fever dream. They were on set. Zooey started improvising political and historical references. And then they didn't expect that people would keep asking them, like, what's the deal with this game? How do I play this game? Because they did not know the rules for it. And then they started to use it as a crutch when it was like 2 a.m. and they couldn't really think, okay, what do we do for the next scene? They would just throw True American in, but it became sort of a little bit annoying, because they're like, oh no, what's the next rule we're going to add in here? So I think when you say defies logic, I feel like New Girl did defy logic in a lot of its comedy, and True American is the perfect example of that.
Yeah. I want to go back to Prince for a second, because appearing on New Girl, it was just so epic. And he didn't merely cameo. He, like we talked about, he kind of entered the show's universe and somehow made it feel more itself. And of all the stories you heard about Prince's visit, which detail kind of best captures the almost surreal shift in gravity when an icon, like not just an icon, but like Prince, walks onto this working TV set?
Well, I think this forgive me if you've already read the story and so you know all the details about this, but talking to the cast and crew about the fact that Khloe Kardashian and Kris Jenner were cast for that episode and were supposed to be in that episode, and they had their scenes ready. They were on set, and then word came that like Prince had some sort of feeling about Kim Kardashian. There was some sort of negativity there, and he would not show up if they were on set. But they didn't want to disrespect these two people who had shown up. They had learned their lines, so they really quickly filmed the scene. Ushered them out, got rid of all the script pages so that Prince didn't see that they had been there. Everybody's phones were put in baggies per his request, and then he showed up and everyone could just breathe for a second. So that just showed how like everybody was on just hoping for the best, and they did not want to scare him off. And I also thought it was interesting that Fred Goss, who directed the episode, he had heard that Prince was finicky. He could maybe just leave on a whim. So he wanted to, he shoots his he does his performance, that really magical performance at the end of the episode. And so Fred told him, he's like, we're going to get you in and out. And Prince said, basically he said, let's do it for as long as it takes. Like, let's make it great. And I thought that was also a really lovely thing. Like he wanted the episode to be as great as it could be.
Well, I think what that tells me more is he enjoyed it. He liked being there.
Oh, I think he did. He played ping pong with everybody. He was having great. Picked out everybody. He picked out Jess's costumes. I think Jake Johnson has talked about how instead of calling him Jake, he called him Nick. So he was very immersed in this world. He loved New Girl.
Now, endings, they're rarely clean on TV. You as a for what you do for your career, this, right? There are ratings, there's contracts, decisions. I mean, we could think of all the shows that really fucked it up when it came to the ending. What did the fight for the final season reveal about who was still emotionally protecting the show after the business end had begun moving on?
Several of the cast members, I believe Zooey and Jake for sure, wrote emails to Fox executives and said, please, let us finish the season, or let us finish the show the right way. Because it was left, if you remember, at the end of season 6, it's left kind of on a cliffhanger. They had to write it as if just in case they were canceled, it would be a clean enough ending. But there's a lot of Nick and Jess kiss, but it's what's to come for that? Cece is pregnant. So they just really wanted to get it right. And they were given a truncated season. And it was a really interesting sort of surreal, sad experience in that they used to have this whole lot on the Fox lot. They had all these sound stages, but by the 7th season, they were moved to this kind of really tiny studio no one had ever been to. It was too small to fit all the sets, so everything was really crammed in. The actors weren't given kind of the big send-off that Friends was given, where they went on Oprah and Jay Leno. So there was almost this feeling that I found really interesting, where Liz Meriwether has talked about, I didn't know if this show, would it live on? Would anybody remember this show? And thank goodness, yes, they have, in a really big way.
Well, we talked about that interesting place in time that it landed, and the streaming afterlife became a thing created during the network era. But I'm curious, do you think New Girl became a different show once viewers could binge it?
Yes, and especially when they could binge it, when the pandemic was just the perfect time for people to binge New Girl. What a comforting, cozy world. They're all kind of stuck in an apartment too, but what a fun where they're playing True American and they're falling in love and there's hijinks. And it was just, Apartment 4D, I think, was a perfect place to be during the pandemic. I know I spent a lot of time there. And I think that was the great time for it to have this resurgence.
Yeah, well, whether people are rediscovering the show, discovering it for the first time, or maybe they've been big fans, I think this conversation was a lot of fun. It certainly got me into the show in ways that I never had before, because I didn't have that FaceTime with the show as it was beginning. And now, since this conversation, I can't wait to dive in more. So, Thea, can't thank you enough for the time, for the work, and thank you again for being Up and Adam.
Thank you. So this was such a total pleasure. I so appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Start again.
Thea Glassman, thanks for taking the time, taking us behind the door of Apartment 4D, reminding us that the best television does more than just make us laugh. It gives us people to root for, a place to return to, and sometimes even a little company when we need it most. Who's That Girl? The Untold Definitive History of New Girl is out now. We'll put links in the show notes. Of course, it's a hardcover, it's an ebook, it's an audiobook, it's all of those things wherever you get your books. And again, I got links in the show notes. Happy hour. What do you say you and I meet at Benny's Pizza for some happy hour? 4:30 to 6:30 today and every Monday through Friday. 3.5 domestic cans, $2 off premium beer and wine, plus food specials that hit the spot, no doubt. Check them out, 439-3838. They're located Upper Monterey, 1601 Monterey Street in San Luis Obispo. Benny's Pizza. It is not just where you eat, it is where you land. It feels like Cheers in there. Let them know you heard them on Up and Adam. All right. We got a brand new episode of Where Wine Takes You, debuted late last week. Super awesome chat. We also have a new episode of The Pour coming out this week, which I'm super excited about. We also did that live stream yesterday. I think I might even put that on the Pour feed. It was really, really good. We talked to winemaker Jordan Fiorentini, owner of LXV, Nita Matal, and from Cork and Cruise, we talked to Marianne Erdos, all about our trip to the Danube in 2027. It is going to be so much fun. I'm telling you, these cabins are filling up now. We're going to have the time of our life. The Danube, we're going to start in Nuremberg, Germany. We're going to go through Austria, Vienna, Wachau Valley. We're going to end up in Budapest. Am I supposed to say Budapest? I feel like everyone who's cultured comes back and they say Budapest. Like that's the real way to say it, so why not? It's kind of like when everyone says like Iran, you just look at them like, really, dude? Like, I mean, we know it's Iran, right? Everyone says, they say it that way. So then I go, am I supposed to say Budapest? Because it's spelled Budapest. I don't know, I've been looking up the city. I cannot wait to go. We'll learn how to say it later on. But we're getting pumped about the Danube Cruise, November 2027, brand new boat. I'll be on board doing podcasts and content with my favorite winery ever, Epic Estate Wines, along with LXV. Love them. It's going to be a blast. Would love to see you there. So you go to adamontiel.com and there's a cruise tab right at the top of the home screen. And that takes you right to learn more about it. You can see the itinerary, see if it's for you. You can also go to corkandcruise.com. All right. Till tomorrow. Looking forward to a week full of great shows. Want to thank Moonshiner Collective for being here. Original music on the show. It's called Start Again. Stream them wherever you get your music. Also, you can learn more moonshinercollective.com. This show, of course, recorded at my SlowCal studios in the heart of San Luis Obispo County, California. SlowCal, where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. For turns well taken, visit slowcal.com. That's slowcal.com. Till tomorrow, I'm Adam Montiel. I thank you so much for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.